Now on BBC News, the biggest African and international news stories. Focus on Africa.
Live from Nairobi, this is Focus on Africa on BBC News. Our top stories. The self-declared Republic of Somaliland grants Ethiopia access to a seaport, drawing strong criticism from Somalia.
No part of our land, our sea and our air can be violated, and we will defend it in every legal way.
Congolese opposition leader Martin Fayulu rejects last month's presidential election results, in which incumbent President Felix Tshisekedi was declared the winner. And also in the program, a new prime minister for Chad. Opposition figure Sukse Mashra makes a return to frontline politics. We'll look at the implications for stability and the country's proposed transition to civilian rule. Meanwhile, prominent South African photographer and anti-apartheid activist Peter Magubane is hailed for his contributions to the liberation struggle following his death on Monday. And we meet 30-year-old Cameroonian Loic Kamwa, who's defied norms by building a 60-hectare corn farm empire to rival industry leaders. Well, many thanks for joining us. You're watching Focus on Africa. I'm Waihiga Mwaura. Ethiopia has signed a controversial agreement with Somaliland, a breakaway region of Somalia, in a bid to gain greater access to the Red Sea. However, this move has drawn criticism from neighboring countries and incensed Somalia. In response, Mogadishu says the agreement is null and void. The Somali government says the actions are a blatant violation of its territorial integrity. Now, this agreement would enable landlocked Ethiopia access the Red Sea from Somaliland via the Gulf of Aden. Port Barbara offers an African base at the gateway to the Red Sea. As part of this deal, Somaliland plans to lease land along its coastline to Ethiopia. And for its part, Ethiopia will recognize Somaliland as a sovereign state. So just how did we get here? Well, Somaliland unilaterally declared independence in 1991 during the civil war in Somalia. Since then, it's been pushing for international recognition. But neither the African Union nor the United Nations recognizes Somaliland as an independent state. In fact, Somalia still considers Somaliland as part of its own territory. Ethiopia, on the other hand, lost access to the Red Sea in 1993 and has since been using the neighboring port in Djibouti for most of its trade. In 2018, Ethiopia acquired a 19% stake in the Barbara port, but went on to lose this in 2022. So the signing of this agreement is being portrayed by Ethiopia as a major diplomatic coup. However, Somali's Prime Minister Hamza Abdi Bare is not impressed. Some early perspective there from Zemedene Negatu on that particular story, one which we'll continue following and giving you updates as and when we get them. But meanwhile, election results in the Democratic Republic of Congo were announced on Sunday, as incumbent President Felix Tshisekedi was re-elected. Now, he received more than 70% of the vote, while his nearest challenger, Moise Katumbi, got 18%. The opposition, including Katumbi, have again demanded mass protests and for a rerun after calling the election a sham due to logistical problems affecting millions of voters and accusations of rigging in favor of Mr. Tshisekedi. Now, the army has been deployed in the capital, Kinshasa, to prevent further unrest after violence between police and protesters at a banned demonstration last week. Here is what opposition leader Martin Fayulu had to say. Well, Thomas Nadi, thanks so much for your time and keeping tabs on this, even as reactions to the election results in the Democratic Republic of Congo continue to pour in. Now, still to come, we meet Cameroonian Loic Kamwa, who's defied norms by building a 60-hectare corn farm empire to rival industry leaders at just the age of 30. Welcome back to the program. You're watching Focus on Africa. Let's turn to Chad, where the transitional government has appointed a former opposition leader as prime minister. Sukse Mashra recently returned to the country following exile. He urged his supporters to vote in favor of a referendum held last month, which was ultimately approved by 86% of voters, according to the government commission that organized it. Chad's military authorities have called the vote a vital stepping stone to elections scheduled to be held later in the year. I spoke to journalist Mahamat Adamu, who's in the Chad capital, N'Djamena. Elsewhere, at just 30 years old, Loic Kamwa defied norms by building a 60-hectare corn farm empire to rival lifelong industry leaders. Already, this corn ambassador from Cameroon acquired 500 more hectares in his conquest of Africa, one crop at a time. Now, Africa's leading corn king dreams of developing 50,000 hectares across the continent. The renowned South African photographer Peter Magubane has died at the age of 91. His work shed a light on the everyday struggles of black South Africans during the apartheid era. In the 1990s, he was appointed as Nelson Mandela's official photographer. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Waihiga Mwaura. That's all we had for now. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Hello, let's take a check on the weather prospects around the world.